I have a confession to make. This is something that I've never said out loud before, and in fact, it's the first time I'm even confessing it to myself. I'm in love. Guys, do you know how much courage I had to pluck up to say this in public? I was expecting exaggerated reactions, right? Can we just scrap that and pretend that didn't happen? I'm going to do it again, and this time, if you need to cry, shout, scream, just pretend you've just seen your child take its first steps, okay? Right. I'm in love. Thank you. With myself. And I don't mean in that vain, narcissistic kind of way. I mean, although the reason why I'm quite late in the mornings is because I'm busy doing this, and apparently self-love is not a good enough reason for being late, according to HR. But I mean in that more kind of selfless, unapologetic kind of love. Now, honestly, this hasn't always been the case for me. In fact, it's taken a long journey of self-discovery for me to be able to stand here today and say, I love myself. So how did I get to this point? I'm going to give you an insight into the journey that I've had over the past 12 months. January the 1st, 2013. It's cold and everyone's asleep from partying on New Year's Eve. And I'm awake, ready to take on the day. I had told myself that 2013 will be the year of challenge. And it certainly has been. I wanted this year to be the year that I can do and become everything that I'd spent hours on the phone to my friends and family talking about. I wanted to make myself proud. So physically, I wanted to push myself harder and further than I've ever been before. And prove to myself that limitations are only in the mind. So what I did is I signed up to the most physically challenging race I've ever done in my life, called the Spartan race. And it is as gruesome as it sounds. In fact, when I first told my friends I was doing this race, they immediately laughed in my face and said, Illy, you're usually the girl who doesn't even like to get her hair wet in the rain. So what do you do when you want to prove your friends wrong? You throw yourself into a mud bath. So that's me in full Spartan mode. Look at the concentration on that face. I mean, to be honest with you, I was so terrified, I was actually picturing my eulogy being read out at my funeral because I just didn't believe I was going to make it to the end. But actually, I survived. Just under 2 hours, but I survived. And it taught me that strong people are not necessarily born with special genes or powers. All it is, as with everything else in life, is hard work, sacrifice, and determination. Now, mentally, I wanted to break down all the barriers which took me from being a talker into a doer. So again, in the beginning of the year, I told myself that anything I feared, I will overcome. And of course, one of those things on the list was public speaking. They say public speaking is the second most feared thing after fear of death. So I thought, if I can successfully address an audience without feeling the need to kill myself, then I can pretty much do anything. So again, I wanted to get to the end of the year and look back and think, wow, only 6 months ago, I was terrified of being on stage, literally. And some of the guys in the audience have seen my first talk. But now, I've been on plenty of speaker clubs. I've hosted events, I've spoken at charities, and I've landed myself on a TEDx stage. Thank you. I was expecting a standing ovation, but never mind. We'll leave that to the end. Now, emotionally, This has been the most significant year of my entire life. I've cried more this year than I have in the past 5 years put together. I've had more sleepless nights this year than I have in all my years of studying for final year exams. Two months ago, I lost my only two brothers. And I've had to deal with the fact that I now have two less siblings in my family. And not just siblings, my best friends. I think while I was trying to control how I was going to challenge myself in the beginning of the year, physically throwing myself into things and mentally being on stage, emotionally, there are just some things you can't control. And I think death has a funny way of reminding you that not everything is going to go according to your plan. So amongst the tears, sleepless nights, and self-defeat talk, I managed to remind myself of the promise that I made in the beginning of the year, that whatever I feared, I will overcome. So recently, got myself back on stage and continued doing what I love to do. And just from taking this physical, mental, and emotional journey in the last 12 months, I've managed to really reconnect with a part of myself that I never even knew existed. I'm now able to confidently enjoy my own company, whereas in the past, I'd always look for the distraction of others. I've come to terms with my imperfections and flaws, and I've learned to embrace them. Being comfortable in your own skin doesn't necessarily come from a place of power or being happy in your life. For me personally, it came from being completely vulnerable and allowing myself to be completely vulnerable. I read a very powerful quote a couple months ago, and it really stuck with me. And it goes, "What you love, you empower. And what you fear, you empower. And what you empower, you attract." Now, all that my insecurities, fears, and need to control things in my life was ever attracting was nothing but negativity and self-defeat. But the second I connected with myself, allowed myself to be completely vulnerable and really accept change, that's when I started to attract more positivity and love into my life. So again, what you love, you empower. And what you fear, you empower. And what you empower, you attract. So think about what it is that you're currently battling with at the moment, whether it's a physical, mental, or emotional kind of fear. And think about how you're reinforcing that fear by empowering it. If there's one thing to take away from my personal journey of 2013, it's that with vulnerability comes power. And with power comes change. Thank you very much.